Eleanor Roosevelt, in the 1930s, radio broadcasting was a big deal. Not as big of a deal as my New Deal, though, but that's another story.
Okay. Radio broadcasting was the main source of mass communication in the 1930s. That's why FDR decided to use it for his fireside chat. In 1930, 40% of Americans had radios in their homes, and by the end of the next decade, 90% of Americans had radios. Radio started broadcasting news in the 1930s and became the biggest news source in America. Music and shows like comedies or soap operas were also played on the radio. The Great Depression helped radio because many performers were jobless and looking for a way to reach listeners on a national level. So they went to radio stations.
Welcome back. Tonight we're just going to be having a nice fireside chat. I came up with this idea to reach the American public, to tell them about important issues and problems going on in our government economy right now, but in a friendly way, so they understand and feel reassured. During the 1920s, many people were buying stocks on margins. This allowed them to buy a stock by just paying a down payment. The 1920s also had a bull market. This means that stocks were increasing about 2 times faster than industrial production. But on October 29th, the bottom fell out of the stock market. Panic selling took place. Margin account holders had to sell and now did not have the money to cover the loan that they had taken out to buy the stock. Many might believe that the stock market crash was the only cause of the Great Depression, but there was actually much more to the story. The causes of the Great Depression also included high farm and factory production with low consumption. This caused low prices and wage cuts. Also, people borrowed too much money and had super high debt. Banks loaned out more money than they had. In addition, high tariffs on European goods made them unable to pay back the United States from World War I. There was an unequal distribution of wealth. New technologies and factories needed less workers, so there were less jobs. The Great Depression ended up lasting throughout the 1930s, with bank failures, high employment, and industrial and agricultural collapse.
Oh no, I'm poor. I'm going to look at the garbage for some food.
Here, would you like some bread in this bread line to help the needy?
Thank you so much.
This will feed your family for a week.
Okay.
Severe droughts in the 1930s in the Great Plains region caused the land to become very dry, and dust storms swept through the region, causing the vegetation to be stripped. This was partially due to overfarming of the land during World War II.
Ah, it's so dusty! Ah, there's so much dust! Ah, we're in a bowl and it's full of dust! I'm a farmer and I just wanted to farm my land, but I farmed it too much and now I'm in a dust bowl! Ah!
During the bank holiday, I closed banks for 4 days to try to help the nation's failing financial system. I called an emergency Congress session soon after, where we passed the Emergency Banking Act. The New Deal was my plan to restore the American economy. This was a series of acts passed and committees formed to fight unemployment and poverty to help get America out of the Great Depression. During my first 100 days as president, I pushed many New Deal acts through Congress in an effort to bring relief and reform. The Works Progress Administration was the largest program of the New Deal. It included giving jobs to people in construction of public buildings and roads. The Civilian Conservation Corps gave jobs for men in conserving and protecting natural resources. The New Deal wasn't purely about just giving jobs, though. The Federal Emergency Relief Administration sent $500 million of federal aid to the states to do what they wanted with it. The Agricultural Adjustment Administration gave relief to farmers, and the Tennessee Valley Authority was to provide aid in the South and promote conservation. FDR proposed that the maximum number of justices be 15, and that I, the president, can appoint a new justice for every incumbent over 70 years old.
No more court packing!
During my second 100 days, I created a plan for new social reform. This focused on strengthening the national commitment to creating jobs, providing security for old age, unemployment, and illness, also to improve housing conditions.
The Social Security Act of 1935 established a payroll tax that created a fund for retirees to receive monthly pensions after the age of 65 and for unemployment insurance. The National Labor Relations Act gave federal guarantee for workers to join or form independent labor unions and to bargain collectively for better working conditions, benefits, and wages. This was often called the Wagner Act because its main sponsor was Senator Robert F. Wagner. Now that you know a little bit about the 1930s, I'm going to tell you something about myself. I, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, was born in New York. My family had a railroad fortune, and I married my cousin Eleanor Roosevelt. Early in my life, I was handicapped by polio. This was a real struggle for me, but in the end, it helped me understand hardship. One of my main beliefs is that there must be cooperation between business and the government. The people must let go of their progressive ideas for a hope of small producers. I just realized this chat is making it seem like I was the only person influenced in the 1930s, but that's not quite true. I can think of at least 4 other people that had tremendous influence on this time period. Let's meet them now. Our first guest tonight is my wife, Eleanor. Come on in, Eleanor. How you doing?
Pretty good, Kaz. Hi, I'm Eleanor Roosevelt, and you just may know me for being Franklin's wife, but I actually was a really big political figure of the 1930s and completely revolutionized the role of the First Lady. I worked primarily behind the scenes with women and reformers, and I was a strong supporter of protective labor legislation for women. I called the White House Conference on the Emergency Needs for Women, which was a pretty big deal. I also worked to be the guardian of human values in New Deal programs. Some of the main things that I worked for were anti-lynching legislation, compulsory health insurance, child labor reform, and anti-discrimination laws.
Hey, very good, Eleanor. Thanks for coming in.
Yeah.
Our next guest will be Herbert Hoover, my predecessor, and quite honestly, a much worse president than I was. How you doing, Herb?
Hi, I'm great, thanks. Hi, I'm Herbert Hoover. During my presidency, the Great Depression was starting, but I thought that the economy would fix itself and we could just wait it out. I failed to respond to human suffering. I launched huge humanitarian efforts during World War I, but then when the Depression hit, I just didn't do anything. I had the Hoover Dam built, but it was too late. So that was my presidency.
Ooh, toasty. All right, next in here we've got Mary McLeod Bethune. Come on in, Mary. It's good to see ya.
How you doing, FDR?
I'm really great.
Good to hear it. All right, hi, I'm Mary McLeod Bethune. I'm a member of FDR's Black Cabinet. This is a secondary cabinet position formed during FDR's administration. I started from a poor background in sharecropping in the South, but I worked hard for education in America, and I worked to drastically help reduce African American illiteracy. Then I later founded the Bethune-Cookman College.
Oh wow, almost dozed off there for a second. It's getting late tonight. But we got one more guest. Come on out, Harry Hopkins.
Hey guys.
Nice to see you, Harry.
Yeah, you too. I'm Harry Hopkins. I was a former New York City social worker, and I feel that it is my moral duty to help the poor. I was an advisor to FDR here, or BUDS, and I directed New Deal relief programs. I worked especially with the Works Progress Administration, and I felt that it was better to hand out jobs than to hand out money. Thanks, guys.
Way to go, son. You got a big heart. Thanks for tuning in, America. This is That of My Fireside Chat. FDR, sign off.